Díobh agus fáilte chuig Podchraoladh le Cynthia. Did you ever wonder what it's really like for farmers at the coalface, on the ground, so to speak, to produce the food that we all love eating? And of course, our food offering and produce from Ireland is second to none. Well, as part of my work as an MEP, I'm always seeking to speak with farmers. They are the backbone of rural Ireland and particularly my constituency in Ireland South. And so in October 2025, a delegation travelled. Delegations travel frequently, but one particular delegation travelled from the IFA, that's the Irish Farmers Association, and their executives within that organisation, or their ordinary members. But they came from West Wicklow, which is in my constituency, obviously, and County Kildare, which is slightly outside of it. And they travelled to Brussels in a 20-person group made up of themselves, and then there was 5 young farmers, 5 students from Kildalton Agriculture College, and they travelled as part of the Keen Mooney Leadership Scheme. And within the group there were also 6 participants from the IFA Already Leading programme. And they came essentially, this group of all ages and from all counties, to discuss current legislative issues related to the agricultural sector. And I was delighted to invite 4 of them. I let the group make their own choice as to who they would nominate to take part in the Podchraoladh with me. But I was delighted to chew the cud with 4 farmers with very diverse farming activities going on and from diverse counties around the country. So I hope you enjoyed the córa that I had with Shane Halpin from Dublin, Blacklia, Barry Convey from Sligo, Schligach, Elizabeth MacDonald, who comes from near enough to me, Gundalach Gorman, she's in Wexford, farming, and Amanda Mooney, who's on a family farm with her husband and some of her children in Kilvanton in Wicklow. So, Éistigh Show, have a listen to this. I hope it gives you some insight into the real issues affecting farmers and the challenges that they are facing. And can I just say at the outset, people might think that farmers whinge or complain, but actually they don't. They're the most practically driven, solution-focused group I have come across in my time as an MEP. And they don't complain, they just state the issues as they are, but they always find the solutions or suggest the solutions once they have described their problems. Mar sin, bainnig i tainmh as seo agus éistigh leis. Delighted that a group of farmers, members of the IFA, came to visit us and me and all the offices in Brussels this week. We get regular visitors, but delighted that I sort of press ganged for you to come into studio today. And I just want to listen to you, really. So I'm going to start with you, Elizabeth. Welcome. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Thanks very much. So I'm Elizabeth MacDonald. I'm 35. I'm from North Wexford. 4th generation farmer. Grew up on a sheep and beef farm. And now I went in as a new entrant into sheep farming myself. And I am the County Secretary for Wexford for the IFA, and I'm also the Farm Families and Social Affairs Chair. So
You're a busy woman. We'll come back to all the busyness now in a minute, but I want to bring in there Barry, who's beside you.
Hi Cynthia, I'm Barry Convey. I'm from Sligo. I'm a member of the IFA. I'm currently sitting on the Animal Health Committee representing Sligo. We've a beef enterprise at home. We had a suckler enterprise, but due to demands on labour and it not been a profitable enterprise due to the costs and the constraints, we've moved to just purchasing beef in the springtime and selling it on the back end.
Good insight. Moving to somebody there beside you, but on the Dublin side, and that's Shane Halpin.
Hello, happy to be here. I'm Shane Halpin from Lusk in North County Dublin. Bit different to a lot of people. I'm a horticulturalist, producing fruit and vegetables, grow cucumbers and involved with field vegetables as well, in particular Brussels sprouts. I'm on the IFA Fruit and Veg committee, and I'm also a member of Macron Firma, and I'm on the Ag Affairs committee there as well. So
Yeah, so a bit different, you say, because vegetable growing, is it a bit different in the farming community?
it would be. It wouldn't be. There wouldn't be a lot of growers in Ireland, sadly, anymore. But what's there is top caliber, like the best of the best is left, and
Love veggies. I'm going to ask you the question, the non-PC question. Are you a vegetarian?
no, I'm not. No, I support all farmers.
Of course you do. And my last guest here today, I'm delighted you came out to Brussels, Amanda. Amanda from Wicklow, but tell me about yourself.
Hi, I'm Amanda Mooney. I've the same numbers as Liz in my age, but they're the wrong way around, the other way around. Yeah. So
You're closer to me.
Only if you can remember what age Liz is, you'll work out mine.
Age doesn't count, by the way, in farming.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. I said to somebody the other day that my retirement package is never going to come because you just keep working until you die.
Yeah.
But anyway, I am dairy farming with my husband John and my 2 kids, Tony and Jane.
Great. What's it like? Can I start? Maybe we'll open it up. I just want to hear about how farming is today. Let's hear it from the ground, from the grassroots. But what's it like farming with your family? Any family business can be tricky, can't it?
Yeah, look, sure, once there's more than me, because I'm always right, farming, there's going to be some issues. But look, we get on really well together. I suppose the big, like we've a family farm, and the big issue, I suppose, for my kids that I feel is that I can't pay them the type of wage that they would get if they were working in a job that off farm.
Amanda and Shane and Barry and Elizabeth, I mean, I nearly died when I got the chance to be nominated and to run. I started to read up all the Teagasc reports, only to find out that the figures in that report then, which have increased a bit, but the annual average income was 19,500, something that you just could not rear a family on, nor send anybody to college, nor hardly put food on the table. Anybody want to jump in about income issues or any issues?
Well, I've a daughter studying veterinary out in Budapest, and I suppose that's an issue we'd have as a family. First of all, that she has to go to Budapest to find a place to study veterinary. There should be more veterinary places in Ireland, but people generally would know what a veterinary starting salary is, or a guard starting salary, or a teacher's starting salary. They're widely published. You can't tell anybody. Nobody here knows what a starting salary for a farmer is.
No.
There is no advertisement about the benefits or the lifestyle from a financial point of view that a farmer experiences or enjoys. So that's as a starting point. Where's the encouragement to direct our young people into farming?
And can I ask you then, not having gone to Agri College, but my son studied Agri Science in Kilkenny College, so I got a bit of an insight, and Kilkenny College is full of farmers. They had a tractor run and everything. But anyway, is it tricky to get that information and that advice? Are you depending on your father farmer, your mother farmer? What way does it work to get the insight and the knowledge?
In Sligo, the suckler herd that I was involved in, there was enough work for 3 people out of it, and there wasn't enough out of it for one. There wasn't enough for a sustainable income for one to have, and that's why we'd have moved to a beef farm. The farming practices, like the dairy, seems to be going well, and that is a viable enterprise at the minute. The other sectors seem to be running a very thin line, and any crisis that happens, straight away them farmers are concerned about the impact it's going to have on their income, and then they're straight away looking for the government or the EU to provide support in funding to get them over any crisis that arises that's unforeseen.
Yeah, and I don't care if the listeners think this is completely one-sided on farming, by the way. As far as I'm concerned, I mean, farmers are the defence troops on the ground with regards to food security in the current situation. Armies and people who are protecting our shores or, our seas, they've got to be fed, 3 times a day.
Yeah.
And if they don't have good quality food, like what are you going to run on? It's like running an engine on, subpar fuel.
And also the quality of food in Ireland is superb. There's no doubt about that. I mean, talk about your vegetables.
Yeah, like we do our Board BIA audit, but then we get audited by the Department of Agriculture for numerous different things, health and hygiene, quarantine pests, just any time we can be inspected, which is right. You know, we have to have our food to a certain quality, but on the world stage with horticulture products, we're dealing with imports from Holland, which is an EU country, but also further afield like Spain, Morocco, Africa. There's a lot of produce coming in, even Mexico for the likes of spring onions, and New Zealand, South America. Like, we're competing globally. It's nearly like commodities, and just like, we've a very high minimum wage in the country, in Ireland, but the price in the shops, it has come up now in recent years. There was a few empty shelves there a few years ago, and the prices has risen, but just with the cost of producing, especially fresh produce, there's a lot of labour. It's very labour intensive, a lot of hand work. There is mechanical aids, mechanisation you can do for certain crops, but it's going to be a long way away before you have fleets of robots out doing things, you know.
Yeah, and anybody else, feel free. I don't have to ask all the questions. Feel free to jump in. But like, when I go to the Aldi, Lidl, or, you know, whatever, Tesco, Super Value, hopefully, and also Sporting Duns, but it doesn't matter. Like, these vegetables for 80 cents, 79 cents, how do you compete with that?
Well, most who supply in retail will have a set price, but they might know when there's a special coming up. Sometimes a special can coincide with a glutton produce, which is welcomed, you know.
I suppose.
But
you don't want it to perish.
But sometimes these specials are thought of a year before in an office, just so they can print a flyer cheap, and then they call a grower, we need the order to be tripled next week, and you can't. It doesn't.
Yeah. You know, the life of farmers constantly juggling, isn't it? Yeah, Barry, go on. Yeah.
It was very interesting listening to Shane's story, and it's brilliant on this trip to have an opportunity to meet. I didn't expect to be meeting or sharing accommodation with a cucumber and Brussels sprouts farmer. You know,
did you educate him in relation to suckler?
Well, he educated me, and I'll be changing my plate choices this Christmas to try and support him. But He and you can speak with this himself maybe. He spoke about the challenges with regard to chemicals and access to chemicals, and how currently the Irish market is competing on a different playing field to even the rest of Europe.
Yeah. And
Europe is supposed to be a level playing field, and our own area, the Mercosur deal, is really concerning because if the standards can't be enforced or achieved, it's like the suckler farmer in the west of Ireland, between BVD, tag and traceability, all the vaccinations recorded, the standards that are being you're held at the minute, to think that there could be beef coming in from a different country where them standards aren't going to be upheld rigorously, it's not a fair market.
Sorry, Barry, can I just break down the word standard? We're talking about the health of people, potentially. I don't want to be scaremongering. I mean, I haven't tested, I haven't read any analysis about the beef that might come from the Mercosur deal, if it is ratified. And at the moment, obviously, the government are full square against it in its current iteration, the way it's written. But is there a health issue?
Ireland has a really, really high standard of traceability, standard of the quality of food, the vaccines, the withdrawal periods, and we're really proud of that as farmers. But the other countries that are going to be supplying beef into Ireland can't communicate their records or their standards that they can adhere to, and that's a concern.
It is a huge concern.
There's a lot of uncertainty,
Elizabeth.
There's a lot of uncertainty, like, from the Commission in regards to, like, Mercosur and CAP, and, you know, like, what are we going to do in a few years' time? So, like, we're trying to plan for the future in agriculture, and like you said, like, agriculture underpins, like, it's a sector that underpins everything in life. Do you know, like, without food, what are we going to do?
It's a basic need.
You'll be starving by lunchtime.
Yeah.
You know, and, like, farmers are very adaptable, and I think because you know, we love it so much. We grow up in farming families and we're so passionate about it. I think that nearly gets abused in certain ways.
Yeah.
That, you know, if you're in any other industry, I think it's a little bit more respected. Like, even as I was saying in the meeting there a few days ago, like, when I went to start up my farming enterprise, I had all of my paperwork. Like, it was very well.
When was that? Do you mind me asking? Because you're a young woman. So when was that? Like, were you in your 20s? Were you in your...
So it was about 2 years ago. So I had completed the farm business strategy course with Smurfit and Chagas, and, you know, I kind of thought I was in a decent position, and my green cert, and I had thought I was in a decent position as a bookkeeper and knowing all my figures
regular
inside out.
income. You could prove that with all your bank accounts, no doubt.
And I was told that I needed to, you know, have a farm enterprise within my own name to be able to even be considered. And
Excuse me, what does that mean, a farm
so basically,
enterprise in your own name?
even though I had grown up on a farm and I was working for, you know, free in some cases on other people's farms to gain experience and knowledge and confidence, when I went in with the paperwork and the you know, hard facts in front of me, they said that I'd need to go and do it on my own. So in other words, I need to go rent land, pay rent on land for 5 to 6 years, because most leases are that length.
They are.
And basically use all that money, instead of putting it towards actually owning a piece of ground myself and having that stability and security.
And can I ask, had you identified the piece of land?
Yeah, it's actually the same one that I rent right now.
What was that like for you?
Yeah. Well, like, I mean, I had worked so hard to get to that point that I wasn't going to give up, so I just kept going. But, you know, I was, like, from a bookkeeping point of view, I was like, that makes absolutely no sense. Like, what other business, what other business, like, gets told that when they go with a business plan, like, oh, actually, do you know, you want to open a shop here, do you? You want to buy that and turn it into, you know, I don't know, like a cafe or a restaurant or something like that. But now you need to go and waste that money for 6 years first.
Put it into the black hole.
Yeah.
Are the banks open for loans?
We were discussing that here. We were told we visited a farm in the Flanders region the other day. And,
that's right.
That man is able to access money at 1% finance interest.
Oh my goodness! Through some credit corporation or something.
Probably because there's more competition in Europe with banks. So I think that is something, like, we've also heard a lot of discussions since we've been here about the cap budget and the finite amount of money to be spread over a wider and wider area. And I really do believe it's time that we started just looking at what we can do with the money that we have. And so for all of our farm incomes to improve, for the bottom line to improve, there's two ways to do it. Either you reduce the costs or you increase the output.
Yeah.
So reducing the costs, if we could access that cheaper finance, that's one way of reducing the costs.
Absolutely.
It's reduced interest
less repayments at the end of the month.
Also then, if we could underpin the value of our produce and get a fair price for what we produce, that it doesn't need to be subsidised. Remember, the cap was introduced here originally for food security, but also to subsidise the cost of food for the consumer.
Exactly.
The consumer is now going to have to pay the
Extra
proper price for the produce that all farmers, not just farmers in Ireland, but we do have additional challenges because we have to get our produce across a bank of water, as opposed to we see how Europe is connected with roadways and tunnels and
extra costs.
Yeah, so but.
And Amanda, you know, when you say that and you say, look, the consumer is going to have to get real. Now, I agree with you fundamentally, but I mean, that's all fine. But if you're a single mother and you're living on, you know, the social welfare, and you've only got a set budget of maybe 250 a week, and then the children's allowance on top of that or whatever, it's hard to pay more for food, isn't it? Even if you want to.
That's difficult. Yeah, good.
No, go on, Barry. But
that's a difficult balance.
Come back in, Amanda.
That's a really difficult balance between, like, in the middle of a cost of living crisis, the current price of beef. Nobody could have predicted that it'd end up where it's at now.
You're so right.
And how to balance that. But if you look at it from a young farmer's point of view, trying to make a decision about going into farming, look at all the risks. You don't know what your product is going to be worth when you complete. when you've it produced and it's ready for market. From a succession point of view, it's hard for the older generations to step away from their income and hand it over to the younger generation, it's very difficult to make the decision to go into farming when the future is extremely uncertain. Like, if you look at an example there at the minute, if you were to put in 120 bullocks last spring, it was 120,000, let's say Waylands. To do that this year, you're looking at 200,000. Who is going to? So what young farmer is going to have access to 200,000 to risk? Because you don't know what that's going to be worth in October when you're selling them, or the cost of producing food, or to look after animals for a 12-month period. So the whole uncertainty makes it very difficult for somebody to decide to go into farming.
Absolutely. And I mean, I'm just going to refer to it as juggling. And like, you're constantly juggling, but that takes a terrible physical toll, mental toll, every kind of family toll if you're in a family enterprise. You know, the word we hear about now at the moment about resilience, you know, we all have to build up resilience and that. I mean, farmers, their middle name is resilience.
Literally.
They've been resilient from the time, you know, they started farming the ground. The one thing that struck me in life, as I used to be a barrister and I had an awful lot of farmer clients, and that was that you're so cash poor in terms of the income stream, and yet, you know, people think you're so asset rich. You know, there's this perception, oh my God, they're sitting on a farm and it's in Tipperary, or it's in, you know, Wicklow, or in your neck of the woods in Wexford or whatever, even maybe not so much over in the West. I appreciate it's a bit different. But Dublin, you're sitting on so many acres and Jesus, it's worth 1.5 million on paper, but or 2.5, it's useless.
The return on investment for land is absolutely ridiculous. Like, and nobody would go out and buy. Nobody in their right mind would pay for land for the value that they're going to get back off it. And I think it's something that we just need to be. You're right. It's an asset, but I see myself as a tenant on a piece of land. For the length of time that I can farm it, as I said later or earlier, that I'll probably be there until I die working it. But and it's going to be transferred to the next generation. But we need to, and they're only going to make a meagre living out of it too. And I think people need to be really aware of the fact that it is a meagre wage. Like dairying had been going through a reasonably good time. That's after taking a nosedive in the last month or so, and we're looking at a much tighter time. But if you take the hours that are worked on a dairy farm for the salary that's come out of it, it isn't very viable for anybody.
It's not even the minimum wage.
No,
it's like multiples less than the minimum wage.
I'm delighted that my kids and a lot of my peers do not have kids that are prepared to take on the farm. But at the same time, I know they're going into a lifetime of a serious amount of work for very little financial return.
And they won't do it. Sorry, the amount of farmers now that I've met since I got elected and at hustings and various things, I mean, the children are just not going into it. They can't afford to. And also, they've thankfully, we've had the benefit of a third level education. Not necessarily free, but it's got much better over the decades. So many farmers' children and farming family children, they're so well educated now.
I still think that they have a love for it, though.
They do.
You know, it's not a case that, you know, they're kind of turning up their nose at it. It's a case of the infrastructure and
I agree,
the
Elizabeth.
regulatory support is not there, and it needs to be like, you know, in my opinion anyway, all farmers, but especially young farmers, and any of my friends that are in the same sort of, you know, circles, like, we're all willing, capable and driven to produce food for the community of Europe. Like, but it's that we're not getting that regulatory support. Like, even when I, you know, finally did invest in the sheep and, you know, started my journey that way, I still have to wait months and months before I can qualify for, like, any of the kind of decent supports to be able to improve the infrastructure and even improve my own handling units and stuff like that.
How do you tide over that
like
period?
It's very hard. It really
Robbing
is.
from Peter to pay Paul.
Yeah, like, if you don't have the infrastructure already in place, like, I mean, I don't see any other, like, you can go into a bank and get a business loan for any other kind of enterprise, and you'll have it there in a few days' time once you have that business plan. Like, you know, like I
You don't
just-
see that.
Well, you look at the pressures on the land.
Yeah, Barry.
Yeah.
Like, farmers are competing with farmers for land. Farmers are competing with forestry for land. Farmers are competing now in the last couple of years with outside investors. So the price of land has gone up exponentially.
And they're not making any more land.
The banks aren't, other than dairy, the banks aren't interested in lending, because on paper, the land that you're purchasing wouldn't pay for itself to make the repayments.
Correct.
And they're not providing access to the 1% money that we in Ireland are competing with here in Belgium. So I think what's needed is supports put in place.
Yes, as Elizabeth said.
Yeah. So state funding,
Yeah.
and that includes EU funding.
Yeah.
For ring fenced and targeted at young farmers that are interested in purchasing a bit of land, fencing it, putting the handling equipment in place to get your herd number, and to, like, we've heard all week about generational renewal.
Yes, we have.
Well-
It's a buzzword at the moment, and Commissioner Hansen is very committed to it.
And that's great to hear. But over the last 4 decades, has the measures that they've put in place worked? And if there was measures that worked 2 or 3 decades ago, they need to revisit them and see can they be introduced to promote
And Barry,
succession.
I'm very interested in that, because succession and, you know, partnerships and legal formations, you know, between son, father, mother, daughter, doesn't matter who. But is there any little light in relation to succession, some of the measures that have been taken? Is there any little light at the end of the tunnel? Does anybody, you were in the family farm, Amanda, you might. If there isn't, there isn't. I mean,
Yeah, no,
call it as it is.
look. I think the inheritance tax relief is to be absolutely credited and thanked, and we need to hang on to it with both hands, or there won't be any land transferred. We won't be able to afford to transfer land. To see what's happened in the UK, where so that's a relief that we really appreciate. We've worked hard to get, and we need to keep it. But
one thing that strikes me, having been a lawyer, as I said, is that, you know, farmers no more than anybody else in other different jobs, they don't know how to go about these things, whether it's the retirement or the handing over, or the partnerships, or the this or the that. I wonder, could the government, I know we're always asking the government to do things, but I wonder, would that be a very positive step to actually provide a service of sorts? Because there are lots of bodies who are helping people, whether they're in debt or, you know, whether they have other difficulties. But I wonder on that specific piece.
Well, if you look at
Sorry, Barry, yeah.
I look at my own qualifications. I have a green cert in education. I have a diploma. I have a degree. I have a master, postgraduate diploma.
You have a lot of
and
education.
a master's. I still have to employ a Teagasc advisor and a farm advisor to make sure that I have my paperwork filled out properly and submitted on time,
Now-
and then adhering to the regulations and the stipulations to draw down the
I
grants.
want you to stop right there and explain to the listeners why, in the name of goodness, with all the qualifications and brains that you have, why would you need those advisors to help you with these form fillings, whether it's online or
I suppose
on
it's
paper?
the same question as why are they now talking about simplification? And why aren't the policies that have been written in Europe and implemented in Ireland, why aren't they derived from a common sense approach? And why does the regulation that's imposed upon farmers that takes up an enormous amount of time and stress and meeting deadlines, why isn't there a more common sense approach that's more straightforward and streamlined for
streamlined? And
yeah.
it's almost as if it's out to trip you up. Does that
Yeah.
bother you? Does that get you?
It's very frustrating.
very frustrating.
And even like when I talk to some older farmers who might like, you know, to possibly
pass on
the land. Like, and even in my own family's case, you know, there's not, in my opinion anyway, there's not enough supports there and security there for that person who's retiring. There has to be something, like there has to just be a little bit more forethought into the the workings of it, you
Yes.
know, because not everyone's situation is the same.
It certainly
The early
isn't.
farm retirement scheme, that seemed to be really, really suitable to people who wanted to retire, and it was direct money paid into the young farmer's account to start farming. Now there is top up payments there at the minute for being named on a herd or partnerships or whatever, but it's spread out over a period of time, whereas it's not that an initial help and support, whether it's you might want to buy a tractor, you might want to buy a bit of ground or do a bit of fencing. That money in the pocket is what farmers need to get up and running.
Yeah, and I just want to talk
you were
about
talking about the pressures.
No, come in in one
Okay.
second. But can I just make this point get off my chest? You know, the money in the pocket of the farmer, male, female, or whatever they spend it in the community. And you know what they do as well? They actually get involved in charities and they volunteer, like I've seen with you, Elizabeth, down in my neck of the woods, Carlow, Wexford, Kilkenny, and they're so involved in the community, giving back. Sorry.
And when you need something, they're there. Like, we're all there. Do you know,
Yeah.
that's,
This is just sort of linking two things.
Sorry,
that
this
have
is
been-
Shane coming in now.
This linking two things that have been said there about the difficulty for older farmers to retire, and also land. There's an awful lot of solar farms happening.
Yes.
A lot of these companies have probably jumped on that bandwagon and seen that the older farmer mightn't have someone to pass it on to, or it's difficult to do that. They come in, they give them a big offer for 30, 40 years, whatever it is, and the land is lost, because realistically in 30, 40 years time, that stuff is, what are you going to do with it? It's a what is the lifespan? No one knows. And like in Dublin in particular, and Meath, a lot of the East Coast, there's an awful lot of good farms, good land, good soil being lost to solar panels, and it's bad, because like it's forcing production further away or into maybe less favourable lands for production, and that's not sustainable.
I agree. We need to get the wind energy driven up to the hilt, both offshore, onshore. I mean, and we need to, as you say, conserve our land for this food.
We need, because there's very limited areas in the country really that are suitable to horticulture, be it microclimate, be it the soil type, be it just access to markets even, like, and we're losing so much of it in the Dublin area with urban sprawl, and all the little towns, or all the villages are now becoming towns. They're all bedroom communities essentially for the city, and like that was all the traditional market gardening area of the city, and that's the same down in Wexford and all that. There's a lot of land that was in production.
You were
being
saying the other
lost.
day, Shane, about how the challenges on the power supply to your enterprise and the drains.
Yeah, so like as I'm in Rush there, and it's the population of that, I don't know the figures, but it has gone up a lot in the last
Exploded.
20 years or so. Even in the last 10 years, a lot of houses been built. But yeah, come the evening time there, like if we're packing, and the power just drops, because everyone goes home and puts the cooker on, boils the kettle, whatever, you know, it's just, there's too much of a draw on the infrastructure.
Yeah, don't worry, Shane. I'm onto ESB networks. I'm onto the ESB. I've issued a couple of press releases. I mean, our infrastructure, it's got to be improved, got to be spent. We have, Elizabeth, come in. We have about a minute left, and I hate saying that, you know, because people think, oh, should I say something? Should I? You don't have to say something, but there's about a minute left, and I'll be thanking you and mention your name at the end as well. But yeah, go ahead, Elizabeth.
Just a point I just wanted to pick back up on, it's only very small, but what you said about how sometimes farmers are viewed as, you know, oh sure, we have these big machines and all that kind of stuff, but the machines are needed for work, and not only for work, but like, you know, the larger wheels, the lighter, you know, the more modern tractors, they are due to compaction, like, so that's helping the soil. But like, even from a sustainable point of view, like Shane and myself would have much older tractors, and we keep them in good nick, and you know, that kind of thing. And like, you always keep something going for as long as you possibly can, as long as it's viable and sustainable, like, you know. And if you were in any other business, like you would want the best machinery you can possibly get for your budget.
You
do you know?
would.
So I think, and along with that, a lot of farmers, like, they take such pride in it, and they look after these things. To like, we were at that farm yesterday, and like, there was
Was it shining?
There was some machinery from, I think he said there's 60, 70 years ago.
Oh,
And they're
that's
still
wonderful.
using some of it. Now, he had plenty of modern stuff as well, but like, you know, like we look after things. Like I'm sure that's how we're all
It
reared.
was lovely looking at the 5 John Deeres and the 2
And the
robot
Porsche.
milkers, and then to hear that
Amazing, side by side, a robot and
And the Porsche tractor, not the Porsche car.
to hear that he had got access to 1% funding to buy them
Honest to
all.
God.
It's great.
Like when he said that, I was like, oh my God, do we need to move country?
Well, come here to me. I'm not going to blow up your you-know-what, but can I just say farmers are the backbone of rural Ireland, where I'm based anyway, in Ireland South. And some of the voices around the table haven't been from Ireland South, but it doesn't matter a toss, because I'll tell you, the problems are slightly different depending on your farming enterprise. But essentially, the one problem that you all have is the fact that we do want to preserve the work of farming, the produce of farmers, and we do need to
security
protect and the security, exactly. So, go
Just in
ahead.
relation to the IFA presence here in Brussels, like it's really, really important that farmers here, the work that's been done with the likes of Liam McHale, the relationships that he has with all of the MEPs that are working out here, and like it's amazing to see it in action, and it's really important to know that when you pay your IFA membership that there is really, really strong representation out here.
I'm glad you said it, because I keep praising Liam McHale. I'd say his ears are burning all the time. But also we've Damien out here as well, and we've got obviously Copa Kajik, and we've got an Irishman.
Man,
the
Kearney, he was
MEP.
And the
fantastic.
MEP, we do our bit. But look, I just want to say thanks for your time. You've been listening to, first and foremost, we kicked off with Elizabeth MacDonald, and then we moved on to Barry Convey, and then we moved on to Shane Halpin, and then we moved on to Amanda Mooney. I wish you the best for the rest of your journey. I know you're flying back later as well, but I hope to see you again.
Thank you very much.
Thanks very much,
Thank
Cynthia.
you very much.